Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. The Washington Post says that the F3 tornado which hit Kentucky this weekend was caused by global warming. Temperatures were in the mid-60s Fahrenheit in Kentucky, and the Washington Post says that was record warm air. Joe Biden believes that a hurricane hit Kentucky this weekend, and he also believes it was caused by global warming.
Jill and I pray, and I sincerely mean this, pray for those who've lost loved ones and for those who are uncertain of the fate of their loved ones and the debris that you see scattered all over the hurricane's path.
He said, "We all know everything is more intense when the climate is warming." Let's take a look at these claims made by our Washington, D.C. climate experts. This is a graph of strong to violent winter tornadoes in the United States since NOAA started keeping records in 1950. The trend over the last 70 years is downward. Strong to violent winter tornadoes in the U.S. used to be a lot more common. If we look at only the strongest tornadoes, F5s, there haven't been any F5 winter tornadoes in the United States for over 50 years. On February 22, 1971, two F5 tornadoes hit Louisiana and two hit Mississippi. The February 1971 outbreak was the worst tornado disaster in Mississippi since 1908. And on December 18, 1957, an F5 tornado hit Illinois. The tornadoes this past weekend were very destructive, but they were only F3s. We used to get F5s during winter. The Washington Post claims of record heat were also complete nonsense. Temperatures ahead of the tornadoes were in the low to mid-60s in Kentucky. December temperatures over 60 degrees in Kentucky are actually quite common, and they've been declining over the past century. On New Year's Eve 1951, almost the entire southeast quadrant of the United States was over 60 degrees, and much of it was over 70 degrees. Kentucky reached 79 degrees that day. There was terrible weather occurring over much of the country on New Year's Eve 1951, which brought down two military planes, causing catastrophic loss of life. The day before this year's F3 tornado, the National Weather Service in Kentucky tweeted about a December 9, 1952 F3 tornado which hit Kentucky. This year's tornado was very similar to what happened on the same date 69 years earlier. These events are not that unusual, and they were more common back in the 1950s than they are now. It's unfortunate that the Washington Post and Joe Brandon don't know as much about weather as people did 125 years ago. This article from 1896 explained, "A cyclone is caused by the blowing of a heavy cold stratum of air over a light warm moisture, and a tornado is part of a cyclone." They could have taught the occupants of the White House the difference between a hurricane and a tornado. And they could have taught the Washington Post that tornadoes require cold air. We don't get a lot of tornadoes during the summer because there isn't a lot of cold air around to feed them. The ordinary conditions preceding a tornado are a thunderstorm moving from west to east and a warm moist wind which blows directly against the storm cloud. Behind the cloud is a heavy cold current, and it is the contact of the warm wind with the cold current that causes the eruption. The Washington Post argued record warm air, which was false, and they also argued that record warm ocean temperatures caused the outbreak. Before the outbreak this weekend, temperatures in Kentucky were only in the low to mid-60s Fahrenheit. You don't need a huge amount of moisture in the air to reach 100% humidity at those temperatures. There's only so much water which air in the mid-60s can hold, and that number hasn't changed over time. The Washington Post argument was nonsense both historically and scientifically. Their motto is, "Democracy dies in darkness," which seems to be their game plan rather than a warning. Toto has been pulling back the curtain on global warming superstition for the past 14 years. You can visit him, Kyrie, and Caesar on the web at realclimatescience.com.